Hello, students, and welcome to this video presentation on the main technological advancements of World War I. Now, a major change is going to occur. At this time in history, we had talked a lot about nationalism and imperialism over the course of the last several weeks, and all those things are going to come to a head with what we talked about on the previous lesson. The main causes of World War I are going to start, and with those that started that war, new technologies are going to be developed to win this war as quickly as possible. Now, the problem that you'll see, and we'll discuss this further, is that although new technologies are being developed, new tactics are not keeping up. So all these soldiers are using tactics from the 1800s in a 1900 style war with 1900 style technology. The kind of main um, descriptive technology, or the main thing that's going to dominate all of World War One, is going to be something called trench warfare. Trenches are these um, defensive fortifications that are built about 10 feet into the ground, in which you, the soldier, can stand in those trenches and not be shot at from long distances with these new technologies. The unfortunate thing about these trenches, though, is they are absolutely terrible to live in. You can kind of see this image here and some of the conditions that the soldiers were living in. It's completely rain swept. There's dirt everywhere. There's mud everywhere. Rats, lice, dead bodies that have to be left in the trenches until they can be gathered. And both sets of armies on both sides are living in these trenches for weeks at a time. Now, in between the two trenches, and we'll demonstrate this a little bit further in class, is that in between these two trenches is a territory known as no man's land. The reason it's called no man's land is because no man can live out there for very long without being killed or blown up or something. So people stay in their trenches. The objective in World War I is to leave your own trench and go to the opponent's trench and take their trench from them. In order to do that, you have to cross no man's land. On your way across no man's land, the enemy's going to try to kill you the entire time. Um, so, what we're going to see with these technologies is that in order to attack, you must essentially defeat all the technology that the opponent has, and a lot of your men are going to die in the attempt. Most of the time, you're going to be unsuccessful in attacking. Both sides then are going to start developing technologies to either enhance their trench to make it almost impregnable, or they're going to try and develop technologies that are going to try and defeat the trench in some way. Here's some diagrams of the trenches that we'll look at here shortly. One of the new weapons that's going to be developed to try and defeat the trench is going to be called poison gas. Poison gas is going to be delivered by artillery shells. This poison gas can choke, burn, kill. There are various different forms of it, from chlorine to mustard to hydrogen cyanide. These things can cause you to choke uncontrollably and your throat to swell up until you essentially suffocate, to massive boils developing all across your body and rupturing, causing immense pain. Hydrogen cyanide is your most deadly one. It just outright stops your nervous system from functioning and kills you within about 2 minutes. A lot of these technologies specifically were responsible for very early casualties. A lot of them, until people developed the gas mask. In which case, as long as you could put your gas mask in time before the gas got to you, you were most likely safe. Another technology that's going to be used to defend the trenches is going to be the Vickers machine gun. This is going to be the first time that we're going to see what you guys believe is to be a machine gun, not a Gatling gun. This machine gun has the ability to fire 450 rounds per minute, and although these things are very heavy, they're very cumbersome. You put them in one location, then you leave it. They are going to be responsible for massive casualties because of the uh, amount of firing that they can do per minute. They are essentially as good as an entire regiment worth of soldiers, or 1,000 men that can defend a single location. Only one of these machine guns is necessary. Another technology that's going to be used to protect the trenches is going to be barbed wire. Originally invented in the United States to help cattle farmers and crop farmers separate their livestock from their crops. Barbed wire will be used for warfare in World War One. Barbed wire will be placed in front of trenches, therefore directing soldiers to have to move in certain directions that the defenders want the attackers to move into, and therefore allowing them to kill them much easier. This is not like the traditional barbed wire that you think about on a farm. This stuff is called razor wire, and once it gets into your skin, it's very difficult to remove. You do not. Please do not think that you can simply just kind of pick this stuff apart and just walk through it. It is very deadly stuff. Probably the deadliest of the technologies that's going to be implemented at this time is going to be the howitzer artillery using something called indirect fire. For thousands of years, artillery pieces from all the way back from the catapult and the ballista, all the way up to the cannons of Napoleon, used something called direct fire, meaning in order to be able to hit your target, you have to be able to see your target. Indirect fire works a little bit differently using math and some very heavy calculations. You can angle your cannon, and using the right amount of firepower, you can angle the cannon to be able to fire these artillery shells over hills, over mountains, and land them on top of your enemy instead of having your uh, your artillery shell hit your enemy in the front. It's much like throwing a football a long distance or a baseball a long distance. You have to be able to arc that in order to be able to get that extra distance. The same exact principle applies to the howitzer artillery. The biggest of these guns could fire their artillery pieces, their artillery shells, 5 miles, and they would deliver shrapnel or high explosives or poison gas onto the enemy trenches, therefore trying to kill them while they waited for the enemy to attack them. One of the technologies used to try and defeat the trench was something known as the tank. Now, there are kind of two versions of the tank that are going to appear early on, primarily on the Triple Entente side. The first tank is going to be the Mark V. That's the top image that you see, much bigger and kind of in your face. That holds 5 men. Its primary job was to roll forward, not to deliver troops, but to crush barbed wire, to crush trenches, to protect against machine gun nests. And British soldiers would follow behind the Mark V tank and be protected from those machine gun attacks and the infantry attacks while they approached. Then, when they got to barbed wire, the tank could run over them, and these soldiers could run through those gaps. Unfortunately, the tank was extremely unreliable. It broke down all the time, and they were very susceptible to artillery attacks because of how slow they were. The big one up top can go a maximum of about 2 miles an hour. The bottom one, which is much smaller, has a crew of 2 men instead of 5, has a max speed of, wait for it, 4 miles an hour. So that made them very susceptible to artillery attacks. One of the major advancements that's going to play a role a lot in World War II is going to be aircraft. Aircrafts were invented in the very early 1900s, about a decade prior to the start of World War One. Within 10 years, we are already using them to kill each other. Initially, aircraft are just going to be used to scout the enemy, to look for trenches, artillery pieces, so that the ground soldiers know where to go. But then they're going to start dropping bombs from their planes or shooting at each other as they're flying by. One of the most deadly things and scariest things from World War One are things called fletchets. Make sure that I talk to you guys about what fletchets are in class, as they are scarier in real life than they look on the screen. Aircraft will play a major role in the decades to come, and even into 2017. Now, all these new technologies are going to lead to something that has been unheard of in previous wars. That is, millions upon millions of casualties in a single war, and thousands upon thousands in single battles. All of these different sides of this war had massive casualties. By the end of this war, 17 million people are going to be dead, 10 million military, 7 million civilian, leading to the largest war in the history of the world. Here are some of the 10 key major battles. And when we kind of talk in the future, we'll talk more about what this war meant in the longer Rain. Thank you for your time today. Have a great night.